Hey, what's going on, yo? We back. Took a little break, but we back, man, for a virtual check-in every Monday, man. You good, fam? Making sure we connect with community. Make sure we showing everybody what the deal is, man. This is what it is, man. So we got a special guest coming through. Just gonna big up this big tune right here, man. Raz Fresco, 6 letter. Produced by Pete Rock, man. What you know about that, man? Produced by Pete Rock right here, man. Make sure you go check out Raz Fresco online. Yeah. Big up to everyone coming through. Yeah. Get some of my people there. Read between the lines. Hope everyone's doing blessed, man. Let me know how y'all feeling, man. Scale from 1 to 10. Peace. How you doing, brother?
I'm cool. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. You know, it's getting this Monday started proper, man. You all seen everyone come through. Big up to everyone.
I wanted to hear that song. I should have waited before I
shout out Bricks in the house. Yeah. Y'all have to go stream that online, man. Y'all gotta go stream that online, man. That's Raz Fresco, Bricks in the house, Baker's Club fan, produced by Pete Rock. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the man. Yeah, man. Peace to everybody out here. Yeah, man. Shout out the real young Bulo. Yeah, man. Young boy's taking a bit of a break, but we're sure we'll get him back like real soon. You know what I mean? So big up to Young Boy, big up to Don, everyone coming through. But we're going to keep the movement going. You know what I'm saying? Keeping the energy coming up. Let me see if I can get the brother Peter back on. Let me try one more time, man. All right, man. All right, Peter, man. I sent you the link. Hopefully we get you on. There we go. We got the brothers.
Sorry about that.
No worries, man. I know this is like your first live, your first time on the IG, so you know, trying to keep things diversified. You know what I'm saying? I got my brother Symbolic here as well, man. A long time, you know, SFA supporter and someone I just bounce off ideas with. You know what I mean? Same energy, same vibe. So I just thought it'd be kind of cool to have him here on the conversation. So once again, you know, big up to everyone who's coming through. You know, as you know, we have this virtual check-in just to, you know, keep connected with community and, you know, especially. Well, now that lockdown's kind of closed, you know, like, you know, somewhat done for now and people are coming back together, we really just wanted to like keep the energy circulating. So hopefully we'll be able to do more of these sessions in person. But for now, like, you know, we still utilize the virtual space, man. So big up to everyone for coming through. We usually start off with like a check-in, you know what I mean? So those in the chat, man, if you want to let us know how you're feeling on a scale from 1 to 10, you know, like 1 being not so great, 10 being, you know, amazing and why, that would be awesome. We like to keep it interactive and, you know, we like to include like comments and whatnot. So feel free to jump in. But that being said, I'll start with both of you, my brothers. Peter, since you're new to this, let's check in with you, man. How are you feeling, brother? You know what I mean? On a scale from 1 to 10.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good today. When we did the session yesterday on Sunday, I was actually out of town, so drove in this morning. Me and my lady drove in, got in 9 o'clock. So it's a full day, but I'm doing good. I'm in a good space. Today. Yeah.
Peace, man. You know, start our Mondays off right. You know what I'm saying? Make sure we're good, man. And yes, man, Kwame, Symbolic, how you feeling, brother?
I'm all right. I'm pretty good. I just celebrated my my son's 10th birthday.
Okay.
Yesterday, yeah. So we actually did have a few people, you know, in the physical space, which it's been a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, and it's really nice. You know, he's growing up. He's into his kung fu and things. So I love to see that. And then, you know, the daughter is about a year older, and she's lovely too. So I'm gonna go ahead and say a little bit of low energy, but I'm still at an 8.
That's peace, man. Yeah, man. Shout out to the real young Bulo, man. It's a 10. And as I mentioned, you know, young boy's taking a bit of a break, but he'll be back. You know what I'm saying? In the weeks to come. You know what I'm saying? But we're just definitely going to keep, you know, the vibe rotating and going. Shout out to my boy Umpo, man. You know what I'm saying? Long time SFA fam. You know, from the jump. He's saying that he's feeling at a 8, 10. Big up to the Most High. I appreciate every breath. You know, absolutely. You know, it's really all about just like really those simple yet profound appreciations and that gratitude. The fact that we woke up this morning and we have breath, and the fact that, you know, we're able-bodied, and so many different things that we just take for granted. You know, like a lot of people, you know, may have woke up this morning and can't say the same. You know what I mean? So absolutely, big up to that. Big up to Kemia, man. I actually want to, you know, let me add Kemia in the chat here, man, because today we're going to be discussing, talking about voice, and I have brother Peter here, and he's a voice coach, and he's actually started this program on the weekend that I'm part of, and it's been like already really profound. So I'm going to get him to speak to that, but I would love to get yourself Symbolic, and hopefully Kemia will come through, brother out here. I know I kind of put him on the spot still. Yo, shout out Prophecy 4 and 6 when I see him, Melvin in the building. You know what I mean? Say he's feeling at a 10. Don't know. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Peter, if you want to, I guess, like, you know, give like a little, you know, perspective on, like, you know, being a voice coach. Like, what is that, and then what are you hoping to entail? And then I'll get the brothers to jump on from their perspective.
For sure. So, hello to everybody. It's my first meeting you all. So, I've been an actor for about 17, 18 years. I graduated from the Humber Theater program in 2003. So I've been on that journey for quite some time. I'd say about 90% of my work, I've been fortunate enough to work on stage in theaters across Canada for the last little while.
Mm-hmm.
So in so when COVID hit, it just gave me time, as everybody, to sort of sit down and think and where I wanted to take the rest of my career, and not just sort of, you know, make some money and do, you know, theater work or film and TV work, and that in itself would be great. But when I started to really think about what is the thing I can give back in terms of my community, where do I feel like we can grow, and how can I help that? And I really started to think about my strengths and the thing that I love. And what I loved probably the most about my journey as an actor was, you know, that the voice work we began, that every actor does when they go to sort of get classically trained, is that voice work. And sometimes I think it's very easy to take for granted getting on stage and walking and talking, and what that actually requires from the artist. And you know, and some of it is just very simple. And a lot of it is, and for me, it really allowed me a space for me to express all my emotions in a safe space, and my feelings were validated. And, you know, in COVID, this time, I really reflected on 19-year-old Peter, that, you know, that first year, and recognizing, wait, all the things I had been through, I had no words for. I just felt them. But I didn't have anything to validate my trauma. I had nothing to validate all of them. It was just sort of, okay, now on to the next thing, into college, this next step, your career,
Right.
but nothing to be able to say, to be able to really wrap my mind and spirit and body around everything that I experienced. But my saving grace were those voice classes where I learned how to breathe and release tension, and a space, and having wonderful teachers just to allow myself to be, and to voice my authentic voice, my authentic feelings, without filters, without judgment. You know, so I could be angry. I could express joy. I could express rage, all of those things, all through my own voice, also through characters and those things. So it became a safe space in that sense. But as you begin to really figure out and understand what acting is, it's you are embodying this character. So it's my love, it's my rage, it's my, however I express that. And to be able to find that, and how to actually access that after trauma, after all that tension builds up throughout your life and experience, how to access that. So when I really sat back and thought about that, I said, okay, you know what? I'm not trying to necessarily make anybody actors. That's not what I'm trying to do, make people performers. But just the ability, just to take those principles, those tools, to allow people to find their own voice, to release the tension in their own lives, the tension and habits that build up through our life experiences, be them positive or negative, all those things. and how can I hand that knowledge down to us? And the first thing I really thought was like, okay, black men first. I think us as a community of men, depending on whatever communities we come from and whatever generations we come from, there through our life experiences, there are things that inhibit us from actually accessing our own voices, accessing our own experiences and feelings, and sometimes from each other. Sometimes we lock that away from each other. So, and we don't know how to provide that space for each other as men. So that's sort of my path to this. And so what voice coaches do in sort of the theater sense, or even film and TV, is they sort of help actors and performers access their authentic voices and speak in their natural voice so they can inhabit whatever those roles and those circumstances that those characters are in. So that's sort of in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's proper. Now I know, like, you know, in some of our sessions, you mentioned about, like, you know, like tension and like traumas and how that shows up and how that affects our voice. Can you speak a little bit to that? Then I want to get like Symbolic and Kenya's opinion on that.
Sure, absolutely. Because the more I've done research on trauma, and there's actually a fascinating book that I read in the last little while that was recommended to me called My Grandmother's Hands by I can't remember the gentleman's name right now. His first name is Resma. I'll find the book, My Grandmother's Hands. And he speaks about trauma. Now, he speaks specifically very much so from an African American perspective, but I think that naturally translates to all of our experiences. So what happens with trauma? Because the thing is, we all trauma can affect people differently. So what might affect you in a deep way, if I experience the same thing, might not affect me. But what happens, trauma is actually, it actually locks itself in the body, right? So it isn't a mental thing. It's your body's response to an experience. So it actually, when you actually experience trauma, it actually happens lightning fast. But what happens is it gets trapped inside the body. So your body responds naturally to certain circumstances, and you can become hyper vigilant. And what it does is it locks itself inside you, and it becomes tension. And let me just, I'll just dive into this just here because I just have it up here, some of the things we were talking about, just so I can get a little specific here. Right, so psychic trauma can shut down the voice, which can take a while to recover. So children and adolescent children who are relentlessly mocked, teased, mimicked, or ridiculed, that has a way of locking this inside the body as a trauma. So the gradual erosion of someone's self-worth settles into the voice because they can no longer trust themselves. There is no safe space to actually freely express themselves. So you become hesitant. You don't know how to access your voice. It gets locked away. So criticism of some nature can threaten and attack one's essential being, and it upsets their balance, resulting in hesitancy and can build distrust. So you do not know how to trust, how to really express yourself. And that trauma, be it physical or emotional trauma, locks itself in the body, and it seals itself in the body. And it can hold and freeze you in place, right? And it can stay there for a long time. Now, breath is, because the breath supports the voice, it is the power that supports the voice and gives it power. The thing with the breath is, and this is just the way the body works, the breath can actually thaw that tension. That's a phrase, or as a visual. It actually can thaw and actually allows you to access all those emotions. And just to sort of paraphrase that, just to close that off as an example, it's when you see children, or sometimes when we are trying not to cry, when something moves us to tears and we're trying not to cry, we hold our breath because the minute if we actually let go of the tension in our body and allow ourselves to breathe, all the emotion, it actually releases that, because our emotions are tied to our breath. Can't tell you why. That's just the way our bodies are designed.
I feel that.
Right? Yeah.
So it's powerful.
Brother.
Very
And so,
cool.
like, what are some of your thoughts and feelings on that? Because I know both of y'all are artists, creatives. Kenya, like, when you hear all this, like, what are some things that come to mind?
Well, first of all, Grand Rising, guys. I just kind of I just got popped into the thing. I didn't greet nobody. I just, so Grand Rising, brothers. How you guys doing? I hope everybody's blessed. Um, it's interesting that you're talking about breath because one of my homies out in California. He sent me so I guess it's like a research study. It was done by a professor in '85. Brother named I'm pretty sure I'm gonna butcher his name. Shechem Ra, or something like that. It was done in '85. It's called The Mathematics of Breath. It's a 25-page study that the brother did. It's very interesting, just talking about how we don't actually comprehend the functionalities of breath and how it ties into our consciousness, our emotions, our mental state of being, our spirituality. Um,
Sorry,
and
there's a little bit of a.
yeah, no worries. And so essentially, in the study, right, he was breaking down how basically if we learn how to essentially breathe properly, because it's a very interesting study. He was saying that in a sense we don't know how to breathe,
Right.
which is crazy when you think about it, right? Like we don't know how to breathe, and because we don't have a proper um contextualized concept of breath, it also affects the way we perceive thought, emotion, trauma, and so on and so forth, right? And so, over the years, I've come to learn that trauma is essentially an energy, right? But it's an energy that like all energies, passes through or becomes trapped, right? For myself in particular, I feel that I'm like an anomaly, right? Like for those who know me, right? Like I come from the street, I have a background in the streets, but um I'd like to consider myself to be a conscious individual as well, right? A spiritual individual, which is a rarity coming from where I come from, right? So it allows me to essentially bridge two type of worlds that don't necessarily come together often. You know what I'm saying? The streets and the conscious community. But what I've come to learn in my experiences is that you know the trauma that we as black men face. It's just like the brother said, we don't know how to deal with that energy. You know what I mean? For me in particular, I found that the the only way I was able to free myself from the traumas that haunted me, that burdened me down, was through the love of a black woman.
Mm.
You hear what I'm saying? Without the love of my wife, without the experience of my wife, I would still be very much so trapped in the nature of the trauma that was the nightmares I lived. You know what I'm saying? I was like, even recently, I was in Toronto shooting a music video, right? Part of the music video was shot on the block, and just being in a particular part of the hood brought back a lot of like PTSD type of emotion for me. Like, like a vehicle drove by and I instantly reached for my waist, but I didn't have anything on my waist. You know what I'm saying? But it was a reaction. I was like, yo, you guys know who that is? And and in that moment I noticed that everybody from young to old had the same reaction.
Mm.
And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, we we really got an issue, guys. I'm like from young, like man's from 16 to the older heads, we all had the same reaction. Everybody, like, we look like, you ever seen the scene in Lion King when what's Timon? What kind of animal is Timon? I'm not sure what Timon is, but that scene where all of them pop their head up out of the ground and they're all looking one way.
Right.
That's how we you know what I'm saying? From young to old, one vehicle passed and everybody's like,
Facts.
yo, yo, yo. You know what I'm saying? Which made me realize, I'm like, okay, I have the fortunate experience of having a black goddess, a black woman who's here to help me, you know, comprehend love, release my trauma, you know what I'm saying, and grow from there. But what about, the niggas who don't have that? You hear what I'm saying? How do they deal with that said trauma or any other type of trauma? You know what I'm saying? Especially when a lot of us, we do come from situations where it might be broken homes, broken environments, destructive communities. How do you balance that reality while trying to deal with trauma when your reality is traumatic itself. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's very interesting, man. It's very like everything you were saying, brother. I just I feel like it's right on the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like again, like in particular, I think the healing process for Black men, like a very essential part of that is the Black woman.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Without that, like, because who else can comprehend your trauma the way she does?
Mm.
Who else can help you get through that trauma? Who else can sympathize with that trauma? Who else can really feel, your heart, your emotions the way she does, because you and her are one. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, I guess that's what I have to say about that.
Peace, no. Appreciate that, man. Brother Kwame, what are you saying, fam?
Cool. Can you? I just wanted to actually say a couple words. Just reading down, shouting out people. We got Prophecy 416. Probably with regards to the breast. Absolutely, brother. Heru, is it Heru? Helping Hands. Giving a peace and peace to the fams. And I think we have in Aino Tio Art Aino Tio. Okay, I'm sorry if I butcher it. 100% deep, and so on. So we'll get back to that. But yo, I'm just happy to be here, and this brings me to thinking, from like a little minor nervousness right now, but meanwhile I'm in a very safe space, to like times when, connecting with yoga and even other types of prayer in different ways. Like, for a hot minute there, a few years there, I was rolling with the Muslims, but they would come to a place and just slow down, and the natural effect of that is breathing. So it's really cool and interesting that we're talking about breathing. It makes me, and I think about my little 10-year-old son. He would, and even myself, I make a conscious effort to slow down in just speaking. So then I realize when, I see a thing going. You guys can see me. I think maybe it's just the brother that's
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. So my son, he's progressing with regard to this, but he would speak really fast. And same thing, I saw like myself when I'm communicating, and just realizing it's cool. Just slow it down. And in fact, when I was in school, and it was during the lockdown, someone reached out to me and said, I remember back in school, in like, we're talking grade 7, I came from Toronto out to Oakville, and I had to, so in Toronto, down on the Esplanade, if someone messes around, you just like, if they're like, if they're not like the biggest guy in the school, you like deal with it, because that person would agitate your life. So now I moved to Oakville, and these guys are going, Kwame, why do you talk so slow? And trying to make fun of me. So I'm like, okay, cool. And next thing I'm in a principal's office in Oakville, being said like, the family was talking about suing, but this and that. So anyways, I just say that to realize, like, hopefully the brother's going to jump back on. But there he is. It just brings me to all these thoughts about, about pace, about, being intentional, Yeah, and that's the thing with my son, when he's talking really fast, I'm like, you know what? Just take time, think about what you want to say, and just speak at a pace. It's fine. There's no rush. So just these things those are the things that come to mind, like, and yoga when I first, and I'm like, it's been too long, so I'm not trying to front like, I'm doing yoga every day, and that's just, it's like an experience that I've had and have become familiar. And I originally, though, it was Zavara, used to be known as Rama, who said, you got to meet Heather. Heather has since moved to Ghana. She lives in Ghana right now. So I introduced her with my family out there. But at first, I was thinking, I don't need, I'm doing Kung Fu right now. What do I need with like yoga? What is yoga?
Mhm.
And I was blessed to find out that, along with meditation, along with exercise and stretching, and mental focus and practice, yoga is also largely breath, and especially Kundalini yoga.
Right.
And so, yeah. So those are the things, like, and how both of you, how beautifully you present, like, these are the things, Kemya, in terms of, like, what's in your body. Being aware, same thing, what I realized with yoga, because I was so urged by Baba Zavara, like, no, you got to try it out. Yeah, so what you guys are talking about, this brings me to, like, from yoga to same thing with performance, or even Kung Fu, or performing on stage, how they're all connected. And again, like, back to what the brother was saying, connected with our mental state, and having ways, and I love that you say, because it's so important for us, safe places. I'm all about that. We need to be, like, conscious about that, because we're just rolling into places too often, and they're not safe, and not because but we get, sidetracked, and just it hits us by surprise, because we're not intentional when it comes to safe places for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I feel like even that, right? Like, for a long time, like me in particular, I like, again, like, I'm young, I'm married, I got children, so, like, coming out of the South Asian environment, like, safety was a big thing. You know what I mean? But then I realized, like, before I can have a physical environment that's safe, my mind has to be safe, right? If my thoughts aren't safe, if my mental isn't safe, it doesn't matter where I physically am. You get what I'm saying? I'll find out, my mind will create danger for me there. I could be in nature, in the most serene, peaceful environment, and be like, yo, did you see that? Yeah, I think there's a man in the bush. There's nobody there. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So if my mind isn't safe, doesn't matter where I am. You get what I'm saying? So I think it's very important that we develop, I guess, I don't want to say a system, but we develop some form of I guess gradual thinking where even having virtual conversations like this won't be nerve-wracking,
Right.
won't be mentally draining, or whatever emotions that we can think of. You know what I'm saying? Oh shoot, sorry guys, just give me a second.
Yeah,
Shoot, I'm
no
gonna have to call
worries. But back to Peter, man. I guess, like, what are some, like, I guess, like, tangible, like, techniques or ways that could help someone, like, to get started on this, like, understanding, of being, like, conscious and getting, like, the mindset right with breath and all of that.
Hey brothers, I'm gonna join you guys back in a minute. I gotta take this phone call. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, no worries. All good.
All right. I don't know how to get out of this. Do you mind just exiting me, and I'll jump back in a minute?
Yeah. Let me see here. Boom. All good, man. Yeah, I don't know, Peter. Did you hear that? I'm gonna see if I can add in Umpo. I don't know if he's available. He's a fellow actor, and I know that he would have a lot to say. I'll even have to ask, so I'm gonna see if I can plug him in right now. But you're on mute though. I don't know if I can hear you. Are you speaking? I can't hear you. I don't know if you put your thing on mute.
You can hear me though, right?
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it out. Okay, great. So I guess the beginning, what I think everybody can do, not unlike what Kwame was saying with either the yogas or any sort of meditative act, whether that's praying or whatever is easier for you, is to take time to slow down. So even just being able to, whether it's start very small. Start, if you can just take 10 minutes out of your day And whether that's sitting in a chair or lying down. And I would even advocate in the beginning a lying down position, because then you're not holding any muscles. You can just actually relax all muscles and actually just and stay with your body and stay with the breath, and just allow, any tension in your feet, any tension in your body, and just allow that to let go,
Mhm.
right? And just stay with your breath, and just see your breath, and not try to control it. And just as a beginning, because I think that, because the thing with breath is that we feel like we don't have a right to take it.
Mhm.
That if I'm active, like, this type of work in the beginning feels very self-indulgent. What do you mean? I don't have time in the day to sit down and just stay with my breath. I got to work. I got to pay the bills. I got to do da, 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 da. But
Right.
it's a part of mental health. It's a part of your health to be able to take that time to rest and de-stress, and actually just separate from all the stress of the day, and just to stay with your breath. Because in that moment, you realize where tension actually is in your body. And the idea that, and just the knowledge that I can let go, that this
Mhm.
is my time to let go of that tension, to let it go. Because the idea of constantly holding in, being tense all of our lives, literally all of our lives. And if we think about the history of Black people, when will we ever be able to really let that tension go? Depending on when emancipation came, when you left that plantation, and then what stresses were there, and then whatever, civil rights came wherever your people came from. So when will we actually ever be allowed to just actually and breathe,
Mhm.
right? And then the other thing you can do is just remind yourself and just take note. Am I breathing? Because
Mhm.
then you'll actually realize, how often do we just stop breathing during the day, right?
Right.
Mm.
Just ask yourself, am I breathing? Washing the dishes, am I breathing? Don't beat yourself up over it, but just take note. Am I breathing today? You get on the subway. Am I breathing? Did I
Mhm.
stop breathing? Because how often during the day do you realize you stop? Because when it comes to trauma, regardless of whether it happened 20 years ago or a week ago, what happens is when that thing gets initiated, the first thing that happens, you stop breathing.
Right. Right.
Like when the example of that car going by, and he's like, everybody's turning. What happens? Everybody stops breathing because it's fight
Right.
or flight,
Right. Right.
right? So
Yeah.
those are
No. Like
easy things you can do.
it's so interesting. Like what like these thoughts are just bringing up. Like when you're always in that space of like tension. The objective to like to be able to heal, you know what I mean, like is almost impossible, right? Because you're tense, like you said. Like if you're standing up, like just naturally you're just in a certain position, but when you're laying on the ground, I think that's a really great like tangible exercise. Because I know we did that yesterday in the workshop, and I was able to notice that I had like tensions in my neck, you know what I mean. And I know there's probably like specific reasons for that, like depending on where it shows up in your body, they might have specific like reasons, and then you can tap into. I don't have that right now, but I'm pretty sure someone can break that down. But it just makes me realize that when we're always in this like state of like resilience, and this kind of reminds me like the flip side to resilience. It's like there's no opportunity for healing, because we're always on the go. We're just trying to like survive. We call it life. We're just, just pushing through, survival or whatever. But like the real transformation is when we're able to like find those spaces, whether it's like physically or at least in our mind, to start. That makes like a major difference. So that was just something that came to mind, man. Like, and that's the whole point of us like creating these spaces online, so we can have a little bit of time to kind of like decompress and just know that, we're all thinking the same thing. We're all trying to support each other. We're all trying to do what we can, so
Mhm.
it's just really, really interesting, and the importance of, again, of creating these spaces where we can like decompress and then become present to ourselves as opposed to just being reactionary all the time. Because we're always like
Mhm.
responding to things, but we're not responding to ourselves. So it's crazy.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna, because I did grab some quotes from this book that I read once again. So it's,
Okay.
yeah, My Grandmother's Hands by Resma Makinen, or Men Men Menakinen. Ooh, this
Okay.
guy's name. And just some of the points that trauma is not destiny is one of the things that he
Mm,
he wrote down that I thought that was very powerful. Trauma is not destiny. right?
Mm.
And then also this idea of resilience. We are a resilient people. I think that's absolutely true. But we should not just be able to aim to just be resilient. We have to move beyond just being resilient, just beyond survival, right?
Yeah.
And I think that happens when we allow ourselves and provide each other with the space to be ourselves, you know. And that's when we can really create. And that's where I feel like voice work is resistance.
Mm.
Because, and here's my final thought, and I've been playing with this thought in my head, is that I believe, yes, as people of color and Black people, we have struggles. There is a war we've constantly been fighting.
Yeah.
But every battlefield, there has to be a field hospital. There has to be a place where if you're injured, you recognize I'm hurt. I need to go someplace to get healed, because we cannot constantly be fighting and fighting injured.
Mm.
And, you know, but this persistence and that's where as men, where we do not say, okay, where we knock each other for saying I'm injured. We knock each other down for saying I'm weak.
Mm. Mm.
Instead of saying, no, you need to be able to get help. And you know what? Let me help you get there. You know, we need to be able to say it's all right to say we're injured. It's all right to go to a hospital and get healed.
Mm. Mm. That's powerful, man. You know, I kind of wanted to go back to like the first quote that you mentioned. Could you read that again about how like trauma is not the destination? Is that the
Yeah, that trauma is not destiny, so that
right?
yes, we look at our experiences as Black people on this earth, and there's been trauma, but that does not mean it has to stay there. It does not mean our lives will forever be traumatic, or that we do not have the tools to help us. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure. No, I think it's
Yeah,
really important because oftentimes, like when things happen to us, like we take that on as our identity. Like this is just who
yeah,
we are now. And then that
yes,
like kind of gives us a certain like lens and way of how we operate and how we move through life, you know, but
yeah,
not realizing that we can take back our power in certain ways. So I really think that's like super like profound, like
yeah,
super profound. Yeah.
So
right,
the other thing is, and you're speaking to this, we ignore it and feel like that is how we make something go away. But
Hmm.
you know, as you look at it and be aware of it, and not let these things consume us. But if we just ignore it, it's still there. You know what I mean? So I think that is a huge thing. That point. Same thing with meditation. As far as like a Buddhist approach that I've been shown, where it's all right that you have thoughts, just like you were mentioning when you're laying there taking, being aware of your breath, and then what this thing you have to do later on comes up. You know, we don't have to be like, oh man, I'm thinking now, or oh that. No, you just say, oh wow, look at it, and then like it's kind of like that field hospital analogy, like when someone like yourself has focused in a certain area, we can say, okay, where can I go to learn more? Or SFA community, I know that this grounding space, and maybe I can learn more about how to get grounded. And that's why, like, I was like, yo, when I saw what you're doing here, I'm trying to like connect because it makes me feel better, and it points to
Right.
this type of healing. I remember a few weeks ago when you had a breath exercise,
Right.
and I did that along with you guys, and I'm like, okay, here you go. You want energy right now just with breath, or you want to become more calm? Proven right here on SFA live.
Amazing.
Anyways, I'm done.
Yeah, no, I'm just real quick. I want to add on, about, like traumas and what you mentioned about like, when we like ignore it and it doesn't go away. Like we do whatever we can to like distract ourselves. So like, I think of just like, various forms of escapism, like, whether it's like drugs, like women or whatever, especially in our community, like these are the things that we go to just like not deal with what we have to. And then it becomes this like larger beast. And then like the trauma starts showing up in different ways, and a lot of times dysfunctional ways too.
yeah,
So it just brought back like that kind of memory for me, like just even the way how I used to cope for a lot of things, like until I started finding ways and finding like the strength within myself and accountability, because sometimes accountability is scary, You know what I mean? Like when you're looking into yourself, it's easy to point the finger to other people, but to look in yourself to be like, yo, I got to be accountable. There is a certain degree of power that I have and certain energy that I'm bringing towards myself. Just like what Kemia mentioned about, having a certain like negative frame of mind, and then, being in the woods and, there's no danger, but you're creating this danger within yourself, and being skeptical of everybody and sabotaging relationships and all these things because of like the mind, So, I don't know. Like, I guess like, what would you say are some ways to like face accountability, man? Like, because I think that's like a really important, path to walk, but it's scary, yo.
Accountability, it's I think here's the thing. Um, when we create these spaces, we are creating culture, and we're creating culture and belonging,
Mm,
and without judgment. Because the more that we recognize and see each other, we recognize we actually have a shared history.
mm,
We really have it might have a different color, it might come from a different place, but the feelings are the same. So if we in these spaces, it isn't just about you hear accountability. For me, it's about empathy.
mm,
It's about recognizing, I have no judgment about how I've come to whatever, things I'm holding on to. You've come by a different path, but as long as you are allowed to be and express that, and there's no judgment that comes along with that, and it's just empathy, then accountability is easy, because it's not, then it's not about bad or good. Because here's the thing: emotions aren't bad or good; they just are,
mm.
right? So however it comes across, they just are, right? So that I can really, to me, that's where it comes about, where accountability comes about, because then it's about being honest with yourself.
Mm,
To me, it's
mm.
about honesty and being honest with each other too, right? Being accountable to yourself, that's your own. I think that also it comes to integrity about how you walk and live through the world, you know. But I think that's where, how do you be more accountable? You know, you be more accountable, and it's easier to be accountable when you know that the safe is space, or
Mhm.
the space is safe. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what it comes about. Also, here's the thing too. When it comes about accountability, it makes accountability easier. When we talk about trauma, trauma happens instantly, but the mending of it is slow.
Mm.
But we,
Okay.
we all want it to be super fast and quick fix, but it has to be slow. You can injure yourself and break your leg really fast, but it takes 6 to 8 weeks for it to heal.
Right.
So trauma, we have to recognize, and that's where empathy is. It takes time. So that's where the empathy and the compassion comes from. Because in order for us to recognize, to heal, and to take that space, is, no, man, it's going to take time. It's not going to be overnight,
Yes,
but we
sir.
want things, we expect things to be fast in this world.
Let's see what's going on here.
Amazing. Peace, man. We got special guest Umpo. Respect for coming through, man. Been plugged
Man,
in.
what's happening? Gentlemen, how are you today? Gentlemen. Yes,
We
sir.
are well, man. We are well.
Thank you
I
for
know you've
having
been
me here.
tuning in.
Can I jump right in?
Please do, brother. Please do.
You
I
know,
know you got some bars for
the
us.
yeah, the trauma conversation was something that I was very interested in, and I recently was listening to a doctor, a black woman doctor, speak. I think she is a therapist of some kind. I can't remember specifically. I'm not going to quote everything she said verbatim, so just pardon me, gentlemen. I'm just going to do my best to remember what she said, and I thought it was just very poignant with which to add to this conversation. She was speaking specifically about the trauma that we've carried as black people. So just as an example, from slavery to now, ongoing trauma that we continue to harbor. And she made an example of a parent-teacher meeting conference at a school, and a black mother uh, heard of a white parent's child doing very well in school and complimented this white parent and her child, praising the child. Wow, your child is doing very well in school. And then this white mother looked into how the black child was doing and found out that the black child was actually doing better than her white child, and mentioned this to the black parent. And the black parent kind of just humbly accepted the accolade of her child being great. So, and then she immediately made this correlation to slavery. And she mentioned
Joy the Group. I'm going to get that book. Joy,
yeah, and she mentioned a slave that was working, that was doing very well, that was one of the best workers. And she mentioned that this slave would be praised. And then one of the leaders, one of the elders in this group would shut down the praise of this slave. And they would say, well, why don't you want to give this person credit for how well they're doing in the field? And she said, I don't want to because they'll be sold away.
Ooh.
This is the author you're talking about.
She said, I don't want to praise them because he will be sold away.
Wow.
And this is the trauma that she's speaking of us carrying from then to now, which is ongoing. We are incapable of praising ourselves because of some restrictive thing that the white system has put on us. And for some reason, even when we are the best, for some reason, we won't praise our accolade. We'll praise the white child. Wow, your child is doing very well. Meanwhile, the black child is doing better than the white child. And then the slave is doing so well in the field, but she doesn't want to praise that because the slave will be sold away. And then we will lose a person.
Yes.
This trauma, I don't know if you can escape that. I don't know. Like, when I heard her say this, like, wow.
Feel that in my
Gentlemen,
core.
please weigh in. And I need that book, brother, bad.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to find it because she's published it herself, I think. So it took a couple weeks to get it. Because what you're talking about too, because what we're talking about is traumatic retention is what some therapists call this. So when certain strategies of survival get internalized and passed down over generations, it starts to look like culture. Right? It gets weaved into culture. It becomes about who we are. So that same parent in today's world thinks she's doing something that's actually going to protect, it's boosting her daughter, like it's making her work harder. Right. But actually it's an old thing that we can't untangle because now it just looks like culture. Because that's just the way that I encourage my children to do better.
It becomes status quo, you're saying. It becomes status quo. You're saying it becomes status quo.
Yeah, it becomes status quo, and it becomes status quo. And we don't even know how to untangle it from its origins anymore, right? And to me, the real danger is that same parent internalizing it, and this is how I'm supposed to really encourage my daughter. Because in the 20th century, 21st century, she's not tying it back to the plantation. She's not tying it back to the threat. It gets tangled and it looks like culture. It looks like this is how we as Black people push rather than being able to untangle it. Because the way I look at things, the way I've understand it, and the picture is starting to sort of get clear in my mind is, us as human beings, no matter what, Black people, if we think about it, think of a picture of a rope. And that a real rope is like it's many different strings tied up together, right? But and we're strong as Black people. But some of those threads are not serving us. So how do we untangle that thread and pull that out and separate that from the actual strong things, right? If you look at a big throw, if you've ever been in a tug of war as a kid, that rope is really thick, but it's made up of so many different threads. And from the outside in, yes, it's strong, but there's some things in that thread that are actually poisonous, are not actually strengthening us. So how are we able to look at the things that we perceive as culture, that we perceive as things that are actually strengthening us, but they're not actually serving us anymore?
Right.
Does that make sense? I don't know if I went off.
It really does.
100%.
Really does.
Before we continue, I just want to give a shout out to all the people in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Big up to it's Mr. MGB says, "What up, everyone?"
Yeah, it's Matthew Brown. That's
You know what I
Matthew
mean?
Brown.
Yes,
That's
Matthew
another
Brown.
black actor. You know
Yeah, man. We
Matthew
got
Brown. That's another black actor. That's
okay.
my brother.
Peace, man.
Yes.
Perfect Sigu. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Coma Hayes, man. What up? What up? You know, Dying Thief, man. I see you. You know what I mean? Coma Hayes coming in saying that's deep.
That's my
Facts.
brother Cameron. That's my brother
Okay.
Cameron right there. Yep.
Yeah, man. We got Bun XAPA
Um,
says, "Whoa."
Yo, that's
because I
my
know
South
we're
African
almost
brother
Okay.
right there. Shout out South
This is
Africa.
the
We
book
got
I was
South
talking
Africa in the
about.
chat.
Yeah, man. Talking about chest pain.
Yo, that's
always.
a deep. Yo, that's a producer. That brother makes music in South
Okay.
Africa. Does very well for himself.
I'm gonna plug in, man. That's
Yes,
what's
sir.
up, man. And then shout out
Big
to
up.
it's Mr. MGB. He says then we picture what that does to a child who can't understand why they don't receive praise, wondering why the white child gets love from both parents. Yeah, it's true. Like the internalization is wild, the impacts of it.
You know,
Yeah.
right there, that comment right there is an example of the same feeling that, you know, poor people have when they see the haves, the differences in the haves and the have-nots. You always look across the street, you see that person with the nicer, you wonder why you don't, or you can't have that, or you don't have access to that. To me, that thought, that comment that Matthew made conflates similarly with that idea and that feeling.
Mm, mm, mm.
And it just furthers the trauma. It's like, it's just, you know, it's discussion it seems like is the first place with which to deal with any trauma, anything, you know, but then you wonder sometimes, you know, just the efforts that it would take to really get us out of the trauma that we are really locked into, and that you can argue we could be incapable of escaping. You know, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep fighting. I will keep fighting. But it just feels insurmountable, you know, sometimes. And that's just real speak, you know. That's just honesty there. You know, we can't stop fighting though, and we can't stop having these conversations, these discussions, you know, because we really shed light on so much of our difficulties, the mountains that we have to cross, the valleys we have to cross as Black people. And these discussions get us so much of the distance.
Right.
Really, truly.
Right. Now I see some comments in there going off. A perfect Sigu saying, "Wow, Peter." Oh, Peter just kind of signed off. Hopefully, getting back on.
Yeah.
But he's
Peter's
saying,
incredible. Wow, this brother's incredible. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. No, he's deep, man.
Wow.
Oakwood vibes, yo.
Hey, yo, seeing those Oakwood pics the other day, man. Fatal Phonetics, man.
You already know.
I love it. I love it.
Peter Bailey's been doing like that, you know, the theater thing for a minute now, and he has this workshop on Sunday about finding your voice and stuff like that. So, he's back. There we go.
Here he is, yes, sir. You know, I always, you know, just such respect for those that came before me. You know, I just have always just, you know, such admiration of those that came before me. So that's why I was just trying to just come in quickly as I could just to be in with Pete, man, because, you know, much respect to you, sir. Yeah, it's just an honor. It's an honor. It's a pleasure.
Hey, man. Well, I don't know if he heard that, man, because he got the spinning circle
Hey,
going
it's
on.
all, hey, hopefully.
Either way,
the young bull, you know, the young bull trying to show love to the OG always, you know.
That's what we have to do, man.
Yes, sir.
But we're definitely coming towards the end of our session. Maybe if there's some like last words, maybe some last words that we can leave the people then, you know, some last thoughts, maybe a bit of a recap, man. I know that we spoke about, you know, just laying on the ground and just being mindful and aware of like the tension within our bodies. Like Paul, like what are some other things you may feel?
Can I go? Can I say something to the people real quick? You know, I lost a few people recently for various reasons. One of our young bulls, Jamil French, took his life recently. You know, they're one of our treasured just men, people, and then Black actors. And then another very good friend of mine, Whitney, was in a car accident recently. So the thing that I wanted to mention is, you know, it hurts my heart to say it, but Jamil didn't want to be here anymore.
Mhm.
It hurts my heart. And then Whitney still wanted to be here. But God still came for both of them.
Mm.
They're both not here anymore. So we don't know when God's going to come for us.
Mm.
Everybody slow down a little bit. You know, slow down. Take 5-10 more minutes to get to where you got to go.
Mm.
Because I don't know where we're rushing to. You know, I don't know where we're trying to get to so fast. So everybody just slow down a little bit just so we can get home at the end of the day to these people that we love, that love us. Like, just slow down, people, please. And check on your people.
Yes.
Check on the people you love, you care about. You don't even know what they're going through until you check on them. Please, please.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Yeah, man. Kwame, any last words before we set out?
I would just say I concur with that. Oh, brother was just mentioning, you know, it really seems, you know, daunting and massive. It just brings me back to thinking about that, slowing down. We came to the same place because we really can be tricked in us rushing. We don't know the terrain. We don't know, you know, dark. We don't know if our people are with us still. We're just rushing. So, you know, taking the time, slowing down, and, you know, that way, you know, we could say, oh, that SFA community live. You know, am I too busy for it? No, I can see where slowing down actually helps us to move forward and be stronger and be healthier. So again, I would just say I think that is the message I would re-echo. Just, yeah, let's appropriately slow down and be intentional in terms of joining and supporting safe spaces, because, you know, they seem slow, but yeah, that's what I have to say. Thank you very much. I'm done speaking.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Yo, Peter, man, you got any last? Oh, we got the spinny circle again. Let me see if we can get him real quick.
Yeah, let's give him
Peter, you got any last comments before we sign off?
Hopefully, hopefully you can see me, because you guys are sort of.
We can hear you. So
you're freezing.
We're trying our best, brother. We're doing our best.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great.
We got you.
Okay, great. Take as much time as you can to breathe and be with your bodies, because this is what they're trying to harm, and that's where our voices are inextricably linked to our bodies.
Yes.
So be kind to it, and just take time to breathe every day. Take time to breathe and be with your body. That's it.
All right.
That's the easiest thing I can say.
That's beautiful, man. I want to thank everybody for coming through. Our guests, man, Umpo, man, Kwame Symbolic, you know, Mr. Peter Bailey and Kemia, who came on earlier, man. I feel so privileged to have, like, you know, incredible Black men just at my fingertips. I can call on anytime, man. I feel really honored and blessed. So thank you for being part of my circle, feeding me energy and vibes. And I'm happy that I'm able to share this for others who may not have these kinds of, like, dynamics, you know, readily available in their lives. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing, man. You know, bigging it up, man, keeping it real, man. Every Monday, a virtual check-in, man. You good fam. So join us every week. We're gonna be back next week again, continue the conversation and topics. And yo, man, that's it for today, man. Peace to everybody in the chats.
Symbolic. Yes, sir. Pete, it's a pleasure, sir. It's a pleasure, sir. Really an honor, sir. Lodge, love you, man.
You already know, brother. All right, man. We out. Till next time, yo.
Yes, sir. You already